True story time. I was about 4 or 5 years old, and my parents had just separated. My mom was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I had my own room, but I preferred to sleep in her bed whenever I was staying with her. Our 2 bedrooms were at the end of a hallway, directly across from each other. Our apartment was on the first floor, and I remember that it was the middle of the summer, and my mom had a window open in her room, which was directly behind the bed, above the headboard. Anyways, I woke up in the middle of the night and remember sitting up and seeing that our cat was sitting in the doorframe of my mom's room. Her door was open and you could partially see into my bedroom. This was strange, because our cat was typically always in bed with us. As I was watching him, he walked into my bedroom and meowed. I turned to face my mom and wake her up. In the 3 to 4 seconds it took her to wake up and ask me what was wrong, we both looked back up at the door frame, and there was a man standing by my open door, making his way out of my bedroom. I still don't know how she managed to do it so quickly, but my mother proceeded to pick me up and literally throw me out of the screen window. Again, we were on the first floor, and it was maybe only a 3-foot drop to the ground. She quickly followed, and we were able to start screaming for help, and someone called 911. The police came, but didn't see any signs of forced entry. Only that our front door was unlocked, which led them to believe that the man must have exited that way. The strange thing was that my mom swore up and down that she had locked the door that night, with the deadbolt and the chain lock. About a week later, she was cleaning the kitchen and opened up our water heater closet and found a notebook with names and drawings, as well as a pair of gloves and some gum wrappers. The police were called again, but all they could do was speculate that the man must have been in our house and hid until we were asleep. When I was about 9 or 10, I had a row of porcelain dolls at the top of a bookshelf in my room. There must have been 10 or 12 dolls, but one stood out from all of them. My grandma had bought me it, but she never told me where from, and still won't. It had curly hair, was in a fairy costume, and of course played music. You had to wind it up to make the music play, and it would play a tune from Swan Lake or something. It would occasionally play music in the middle of the night, and I, as a child, took no notice to the music and thought it probably still had juice in it from winding it up earlier. That was until it started playing more frequently, and I started having reoccurring bad dreams about the doll, where it would be watching me. When I woke up, its beady eyes were watching me. This is where it started to get really freaky. My cousin was staying over one night, and she kept muttering, the eyes, in her sleep. The music started playing, and I glanced up at the doll, who again looked to be staring at us, but the music was playing slower than usual. Now, believe me or not, I don't care, but the truth is the truth. My cousin started gasping for air, thrashing about violently. I tried to scream, but no noise escaped my mouth. The doll's music seemed to be the only noise playing slowly and loudly, until it stopped completely. My cousin sat up shaking and catching her breath. "Help me," she muttered. I touched her and tried to reassure her by telling her about the doll. She just stared at the bookshelf. I got up and opened my window, hands trembling, and threw the doll out, causing the foot to break. My cousin refuses to ever come in my room, and the doll is in a plastic bag tied tightly with others. I never told anyone about the doll. A lot of paranormal stuff has happened to me in my life, but this is the worst. Here it goes. I was home alone in the middle of the night, like 3 o'clock. I was on my computer and I heard some weird noises. I didn't think much about them, but then I started hearing more weird noises. And then I took my headphones off and decided to listen. My room door was closed. I placed my ear against the door, and I heard fast and loud footsteps coming towards my door. And I jumped in my bed. I was very scared. About 10 minutes later, I decided to investigate, and I opened my door and searched the whole house. There was no one. After sitting back at my computer for a little while, again, I heard loud knocking on the front door, and then someone trying the door lock to get in. I was scared because no one was supposed to come home at that time. I put on the lights that were in my front of my house and looked through the window, but no one was there. At this point, I was freaking out and decided to go to my room and lock the door and make sure the curtains were down and listen to loud music. Nothing else happened that night, but I could not sleep. The next day, I called my mother and said what happened to me. She just laughed and said I was crazy.